Good morning, good day, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Black Blockchain Summit 2020, a very special edition for all of us because of this COVID-19 pandemic. So today we have Roselyne and Nhial. I hope I'm saying your name perfectly well. Welcome, guys. Welcome,
Thank you.
guys, to today's talk. We're just going to have a very simple, nice, relaxed kind of conversation. I want to start with you, Nhial. Introduce yourself. You know, when did you start with this Bitcoin journey, and how has it been for you? And then when done, Roselyne, keep right there.
All right, thanks, for Alakani. For those that don't know me, my name is Nhial Majok. I'm the founder of Pesabase. I've been in the space. My background is in tech, obviously. I moved to Australia when I was about 23 years old in 2003 and finished my degree and basically, been working in the tech industry. Before I got involved in Bitcoin around 2013 when I first heard about it, just post Mt. Gox situation. So I was actually, I would say, kind of lucky that I missed out on that, because the funny situation was I was trying to figure out a way to see how I can send money to Japan so I can buy a few, because I want to test out the technology. And so just when I was trying to do that, then there was like some statements about the Australian police trying to figure out people that have lost money, and the next thing is Mt. Gox is not doing great. So I kind of cooled off for about 2 or 3 months, but then towards the middle of June, July, there was also a Melbourne meetup, so I decided to go meet other people. Back then, we used to be about 10 to 15 every month. We'll meet up and try and pay for pizza using Bitcoin. And so while working for IBM, that was kind of my hobby on the side. And then fast forward a few years later, I left IBM in 2017, just at the middle of the bull market, the middle of 2017. And I started traveling just to see what the scene is like and to sort of become involved in it. So yeah, so that's pretty much the short of it. Since then, I've been doing a few more things which I'm happy to delve into as we speak. But yeah, I'll pass the baton to Roselyne.
All right. For those who are probably hearing about me for the first time, I'm Roselyne Wanjiru. I'm an economist and very passionate about the blockchain space. So the first time I heard about Bitcoin was in 2016 from a friend. And he actually just pointed out a documentary, and well, he knew I love documentaries and new stuff. So I was like, oh, this looks like something interesting about the future of money and economy. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And there was a meetup around September, actually, with at the time, I'm not sure if the Blockchain Association of Kenya had been formed, but there was a meetup in Nairobi, and they were explaining to us about how Bitcoin is like a digital asset and all, and how you can buy it, and it sounded so complicated. So I felt I'm not ready to put my money in something I don't understand. So I'm gonna give it time, but it's it just piqued my interest. Then my background is in economics really, and performance management. That was really my first line of work. So I had an appreciation of like systems thinking before I now got a research interest specifically in blockchain as part of the future of cybersecurity, part of the future of economics and all. And in 2017, I wanted a master's in data science. So for me, blockchain was really a niche thing. And the mention of Bitcoin was just, it piqued my interest at the time, but not so much. But in 2018, the more I saw just how much, first of all, it's a niche and not many people are talking about the potential impact of the tech. I felt I could be an early adopter or early contributor to the space, and that would give me quite some huge leverage in terms of career prospects and however that would evolve. So I even put my desire for the masters for data science on a back burner and kind of just picked interest as a researcher or a research fellow in the blockchain space locally, and getting international speaking engagements along the way. So that's in a nutshell my journey into the blockchain space.
Hey, awesome, interesting. Nhial, you are one of the Bitcoin OGs in Africa, having started in 2018. That makes you an OG. So I want you to tell me how has been your experience so far, being in the space? Like, how has it been for you? What stories,
Well,
interesting stories can you tell, on this wonderful journey of
well, it's been an interesting journey. The first thing that I'll say is I didn't expect it to evolve so fast, nor did I
yeah,
expect that nearly 10 years down the line that I'll actually be working in the industry. At the time, I looked at it as a hobby, and for those that don't know, I was actually born in Sudan, so I've sort of seen stripe and seen what it means for. I think Sudan had to change its currency twice or something, and now maybe 3 or 4 times in my lifetime, and so I've sort of watched currencies devalue, currencies die. And so when I moved to Ethiopia, Uganda, and then Kenya before I migrated to Australia, part of my educational curiosity was what made Western societies more stable. I mean, I know they've had prior history of wars, prior history of instability. But one of the things that I was curious about, even though I was a tech guy, was simply like how do you create economies that function as well as the economies did, and how do you create a stability of money, and what happens if this money, which historically happens, devalues or lose its uh, value in that sense. And so when Bitcoin came across my purview, it was more almost like an accident. While mentally I may have been prepared for it, I didn't think of myself as an OG at the time. I thought, man, I'm late to this thing, but this thing could probably die. But hey, it's exciting. And the way I saw it evolving was, if, as everyone predicted, that internet is going to be everywhere, then something like this is going to exist. And the question was whether it was Bitcoin or something else. And so clearly, I thought, it's worth becoming involved. It's worth, getting involved. Even when I bought some, it was more to try and support the community more than to try and invest. So the funny thing is, now looking back, obviously I wish I'd put in more, but at the time I was looking at it as
yeah,
a really, really great experiment.
yeah. Okay. Roselyne, back to you. Being a woman in the space, how has it been for you?
For me, it's particularly exciting. I mean, I look back at some of the panels I've been part of, and in not a few, I'm the only woman there, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So sometimes I'm thinking, I wish, okay, definitely, I would love for there to be more women and definitely represented
Yeah,
in the space. But I'd say, in a way, seeing one of the statistics that actually shocked me is that there's between 3 and 10% representation of women in the blockchain space and crypto in particular. And this is, looking at not just roles in trading, but also executive, marketing, research, coding, and all that. And I felt, whoa, okay. I may not rope in as many as I can right now, but at least I can be there as a role model to some who might just get the inspiration and not see this as a predominantly male-friendly space. So it extends. I also got to learn, of course, about the gap and representation in terms of women in tech. And for me, it's been an evolving issue in terms of what are the issues that either keep or incentivize women to be in this space. And I realized that it just has to be an increasingly involving conversation. We shouldn't just make it about, just splashing women in tech, but just making workspaces more friendly, inclusive, just diverse and all that, and just being able to contribute, being able actually to just involve women in a sense that we're not just putting you on board because you're a woman, but because you're a contributor in this space, So for me, it's as exciting as it is challenging, but I definitely love being in this space.
All right. Just to jump in and pick up on where you both left off,
Yeah.
Nhial, you mentioned that you got to see the Sudanese currency, sort of devalue about 4 times over your lifetime. And I think, Roselyne, you've made the point that we need to bring in women as participants, not just as sort of symbols in the space. So where do you see the crypto and blockchain space going? Because we're seeing an increased adoption of Bitcoin because of the COVID-19 pandemic, weakening, African currencies quite substantially. So where do you see the future of this technology, given the current circumstances that we have?
So,
All right. All right.
you want to go, Roselyne? Yeah.
All right. So for me, I believe that it's going to be very easy for people to kind of lean towards cryptocurrencies as a form of hedging against, especially inflation and devaluation, because we've seen that with both Zimbabwe, Venezuela, and a few other countries whereby they feel the pinch of the currency just, dipping so fast that it's even hard to believe. You wake up one day and before the end of the day, you have to just get way more money just to get the same basic goods. So it's going to be easier for people to lean toward that, and it's going to be more of a bit of a provocative push toward adopting blockchain and crypto, because yes, many governments have a long-term view of this tech. They don't just want to wake up and put a few policy green ticks and then have the countries adopt them. No, we're not going to see that. But in the next few years, with I think even Rwanda, there's debate, or at least a form of structure going on, or measures being put in place to adopt the likes of central bank digital currencies or national digital currencies, even if they don't take the blockchain route. So these technologies are going to be kind of behind the scenes, but people are going to move to what's going to protect their daily livelihood and going to protect them from inflation. Because for some people, it's that they're completely against blockchain and crypto right now as speculation, as hype, and completely dismissing them. And you really can't blame them for that. It's just human nature. New things don't tend to be trusted as fast. And with many scams being associated with, especially cryptocurrencies, we can't expect people just to take them as, this is our savior, this is our, our lifeline and all that. No, we can't expect that. But what we will see over the next few years is actually just, especially a private sector push to more cultures and more currencies adopting the likes of community currencies, and then national currencies or central bank digital currencies. It's not, it's not a wake up call. It might not be something that, is suddenly widely adopted, but something that could come in waves. And that's really what you will observe in every other culture across the world. No one will ever wake up to just taking this because they believe in it. It will be out of a dire need or out of some form of desperation that's within the culture that they'll find themselves in.
That definitely covers a lot of my thinking as well. And the only thing that I'll add is that if you look at the landscape in a lot of emerging markets and third world countries, the options to invest are very few and they're very limited. In some cases, people don't even have access to first world countries, shares, companies, and the like. The other thing is you don't have access to fast rate banking and financial services. And so you look at what crypto is doing, it's actually providing a neutral layer. Right now, we have one country, which is the US, that is providing the reserve currency for the world. But if you're a country or a group of people that don't agree with the US, more than likely, they will just knock you off the system. And the thing is, it doesn't even have to be a violent disagreement. It just has to be maybe you have a different philosophy in life and a different way of living. And so countries like China and Russia obviously are not happy with that. The thing is, the world does not trust anyone else to build a currency that everyone can move to. While the emergence of China is going to be one of the main themes in our lifetime, I think and I believe that there should be a neutral currency that provide confidence that not one country and not one set of people actually own, but that it's actually built. And probably it makes sense that it should be born within the internet, which is one of the newer layers of technology that has been growing rapidly around the world. So in that sense, I think Bitcoin is the contender for that. And I honestly will want to see it succeed. And if it does, what it gives us is the ability to have governments cross-check their own spendthrift ways and their own devaluing ways against the reality that if they do that, their citizens are actually going to migrate over to something that they don't control. And so in that sense, I do think that the future is definitely interesting. A lot of us are building, and we definitely hope that governments around the world don't get together and ban the whole thing. It will just slow it down. But I think that it has a place and a force for good in the world. And so in that regard, guys like me left our careers to come and build careers in this space. And we hope we'll end up building meaningful services that will actually allow rapid onboarding of Africans and other people in the world onto this space. And that's what I think.
Actually, just to pick another aspect that Nhial has pointed out, is that especially for young people in Africa, it's that they're looking at alternative means of income. I mean, with the pandemic and its pressure alone, there have been statistics of increased trading volumes in Africa, and you're wondering, okay, where's this capital coming from if there are decreased revenues all across the board? But the fact is that people are looking at alternative means of investment and income because if not, there isn't very very widely known or widely accessible information on investing in stocks in African markets, because even just a quick Google search will reveal that you really have to do a bit of digging, or at least be part of one organization or group or another to be able to access, first of all, the knowledge of how to create accounts, how to invest in stocks, and how to develop a portfolio that can earn you substantial results. But with cryptocurrencies, one Google search and 2 app downloads away, you're trading and you're in. And that learning curve and that kind of rapid access to both investment/speculation opportunities really puts cryptocurrencies at an advantage as compared to stocks. Yes, it might still be niche, but when you just compare just how easy it is to access both and kind of speculate on your returns, then it really shows that, especially for young people and millennials across the continent, it's really going to be exciting in the next couple of years as more people learn. Oh, my friend made 100x and my other friend made like 200. They bought a car, they bought a house, they bought this, they bought that. What am I doing? It just puts that direct pressure to jump into the bandwagon.
Wonderful points right there. You talked about investment, you talked about hedging against our own local currencies. You talk about all these challenges that people face, in terms of not being able to have an opportunity to buy stock, not being able to protect themselves against the inflation they face in their own currency. Today, in the crypto market, we are talking DeFi. Do you think this can be one way out for Africans, to be given an opportunity to invest their own money, to start learning about investment, start learning about trading with this DeFi?
Well, from my viewpoint, the beauty of open innovation is that anyone can become involved. I have no doubt that there's a lot of African developers at the moment looking at the current innovation that is rapidly happening and thinking, maybe we can do something there. And so DeFi is just one manifestation. And I kind of feel like it's like for the last few years, we talked about everything else except as an industry where we are really good at. And I think we are really good at innovating around money. And that's probably the first killer app that blockchain and crypto is going to give us. And so in that regard, we kind of like gone back to the beginning and say, hey, maybe we can redo everything. And so what is happening with DeFi now is I look at all the stacks that can be rebuilt, whether it's from the financial world to the blockchain space, or a whole ways of innovating around finance. And so we will see things that we probably not have predicted possible with money previously. A lot of people, of course, think they should have been possible with the existing financial system. But the reality is when you have open innovation versus what is called permission innovation, the open innovation always outperforms. And so it always results in things that, yes, you may have guessed, but you never could have guessed how big they'll grow. And if I look at it right now, 10 years, I went from 2013 to being and fully working in the space literally 4 or 5 years later. And so every cycle allows that to happen. And so a lot of intelligent people are getting involved. And what that means is that there's a lot of jobs being created and a lot of good minds looking at the space and saying, how can we do things differently? And not just in finance, but in other places. So I do suspect that, we're just at the beginning and it's open for anyone to become involved. Of course, you have to be careful because just as what happened recently with the sushi swap, the scandal, you don't know what project can actually result in you losing your money. Like in Kenya and Africa in general, with land speculation or any sort of investment scheme, there's always someone that is going to lose money somewhere. And so all you have to do is try and make sure that you're not that person and give yourself a chance to benefit from the growth of this space.
Roselyne?
Yeah, so my thoughts on DeFi, just as Nhial has mentioned, is that DeFi has quite a long way to go in the sense that even before we involve like regulators or communities on board, it remains a rather niche space in the sense that people are still wondering, okay, DeFi, what's that? You know, that question is still there for a lot of people. And you hear these fancy terms, you hear these crazy returns, and you see, a lot of people will approach it thinking that this is my magic gateway to wealth, and I just need to put probably 100, probably what you start with $100 or $1,000 or whatever speculative amount someone will want to start with, and they're thinking, yes, I'm looking at this at my wealth. But the truth is that you know, finance as it you know, it's a system with so many cogs in it. But the thing is that people just need to be aware of or develop the basics of financial education, and that begins from budgeting to saving to placing your, you know, your finances in different structures, so that it's not just about the spike and the gain. Yes, there's a craze, but the truth is that over time we could just see it having market corrections and almost hitting a space where it's dead. Because in a sense, I feel that this current excitement and hype is very, 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 very much alike to what was happening in 2017. Because like the price of Bitcoin went from what, less than $1,000 to $10,000, and guys are like, wait, is this even real? Am I, you know, is this my bank? Is this my wallet? And guys, some people are just shocked because they woke up to seeing millions in their wallets, and some people just didn't know what to do with that. So the truth is that even not just highlighting DeFi as a resource, it's that we cannot ignore the basics of financial wellness, health, and financial management in the name of we have a new asset that can, you know, just wave your magic wand wealth into the air or whatever. The truth is that the basics, especially of financial education, must come into play, because that's the only way that the DeFi space is going to be sustainable, you know, years to come, so that it's not just a fad that will rise, disappear, and we will wonder, okay, why did we even care about that? Because with the ICO boom, it's that overnight, someone just puts a white paper, PDF document that is barely researched, just well designed, and calling for investors to put their money, and you know, you guys are just wondering, okay, cool, this sounds like a good idea, put your money there, this guy disappears, try to do any background check, you realize, okay, it was just a one-man show. So due diligence is definitely a must, and that the lessons from 2017 crypto boom must be carried into the current DeFi boom, that if you hear about a token or a project that has listed, as an investor and as someone who's interested in speculating, don't buy the hype. Do your financial diligence. If the project's team is you know, has previous experience in the industry, consider that. If they've you know, just do your due diligence. Don't just as Nhial mentioned, don't be the one that's losing money because you're thinking you're going to make all these other millions or billions if you play your cards right. Manage your risk. Have your time to just don't like there's this saying, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. That's it. With DeFi, it's not a magic one that's just gonna create millionaires, but well, some will play their cards right, but just don't be the one who is penny wise and pound foolish.
Thank you so much. Human greed tends to like drive people towards the decisions that they make, especially when it comes to money. And I'm just hoping and that people learned a lesson or two with sushi. That was like one crazy thing happening right there. Talking about sushi, maybe I want to ask you a question. How do you deal with scammers and also, you know, those negative players in the space? How do we deal with such scams and negative players? How do you deal with
Very quickly, even to that, it's just due diligence. As much as you can, do your background research. And even if your background research doesn't add up, your gut feeling will always tell you there's something wrong with this, you know. And aside from your gut feeling, if you know you're greedy, just keep, you know, just keep off. Yes, it's a very interesting human incentive, if I may put it that way, because even a fear and greed index. So when the fear index is high within the crypto market, guys are, you know, we call it a bear market. When the greed index is high, we call it a bull market. But it comes back to understanding just your own basic psychology. What are your incentives? Because if you are too greedy for this and you want the money, you're actually a candidate for scamming, and that's the first mistake. So you just need to watch and check yourself as much as you can, because you can put in all the measures in place and still be scammed. That's the truth. But, which is why I mentioned earlier, just check your risk management, because you can still do your best and be scammed. Fine. But how bad is that loss? If you do your due diligence and you ultimately just check your own incentives, you will be able to realize a few red flags here and there. Do not ignore them. Your money is involved. Your resources, your hard-earned money is involved. Do not ignore the red flags. So that's just one thing. But especially on the side of even projects that are working to put their coins out in the space, also you do your part in due diligence. Show at least some form of good faith in terms of willing to protect your investors' money, because scammers will also scam you if you are in the space and you have a good project. It doesn't mean that investors are the only ones to be scammed. Even projects can be scammed.
Yeah, I think I could add to that and say that often the sign of an interesting space is how all the elements, including the bad elements in the existing world, all try to get in as well. So there's no bulletproof way to protect anything from scams that is valuable, aside from putting in measures that have been tested and tried. I think for the majority of people, my advice would be just stay to existing projects. You don't really need to compete in the new projects that are coming on board, because you won't have the manpower and the time and the space to be able to understand whether those projects are worth your money. I know it means you may miss out on a lot of 10x's, but then at least you get to keep your principal. And also you'll be exposed to the industry as it grows anyway. There's a lot of good projects that have already launched, that are already existing with established teams. I think you should also just look at that. For the majority of people, if you're not tech savvy, in fact, don't even try to engage in all the new speculation that is happening. It's going to damage you. That's financial. That's the best thing I could add.
And actually, one other thing, just as Nhial has mentioned, is people feel that they have to be tech savvy to invest in DeFi. I'd like to just kind of demystify that and say, no, you don't have to be tech savvy or even a financial expert to invest in DeFi. You actually just need the basics of financial investment. What's a healthy investment? Like, if you were to do this as a business, then how would you do it? How much capital would you put in? Do you understand the business well enough to actually put in the time, effort, and resources? If you don't, and you would not do it as a business, that's it. It's a very simple way of, knowing whether you can put your effort into that, instead of having someone bamboozle you with big words and making you feel like you're missing on this. And one of the red flags is actually that if someone is using your fear of missing out against you, then yeah, it's okay. Just be comfortable with missing out for a bit.
Okay, awesome, guys, awesome. Very important to do research before you can put money into anything. I hope people are actually very listening to what you guys are saying and learn a thing or two. Moving away from the scams, let's talk about startups. You guys are running Pesa, is it Pesa Base?
Yep. Pesa
Yeah, Pesa Base. So I want maybe to ask, what are the challenges of running a startup, especially in the blockchain space, and what are some of the challenges that you meet as the startup, or what challenges can startup meet in this space, especially maybe in issues of fundraising and all that? What are some of the challenges that a startup in the blockchain space?
I think off it, I could just mention a few. One of the things that you're doing when you're starting a new company is you're trying to build a team that could actually deliver on your idea and your product. And that team has to buy into that vision. That's usually the first. And of course, that means just even getting the talent, for example, people that understand the space, whether it's tech or even business side, enough to be able to become involved. Because it's a new space, it can be a bit challenging. I can say it's taken me probably over a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe nearly 2 years now, to get a team that I can say is actually maybe the best team in East Africa. And obviously the proof will be in the results that we deliver over the coming months and years. And so if for every team like me that ends up being a good team, there's also another startup that is going to lose out in that from gaining those talent as well. And so that means that is usually the first thing. Of course, you talk about funding and business viability. There are no guarantees that any business is going to succeed. It comes down to eventually whether your customers love what you're building. And one of the things that for a lot of us, especially in the blockchain space, is we're starting in a completely new space. And a lot of us got involved in crypto out of passion and excitement. And so that meant that in some cases, we've not really built companies in the past. And so then you have to deal with trying to sort out the normal everyday business requirements of a business, as well as the fact that you have to lead and be part of a team that is driving towards a vision that may or may not be successful. And a lot of it is dependent on technologies that are still being built. In our case, like when we're testing out Celo and now building on top of Celo. And so you see these technologies not ready last year or the year before. And so, and in a lot of ways, it's still getting into the market. And so you're kind of fast and you're trying to, string together a solution that actually benefits a subset of customers. And so in that regard, it means you have to, kind of keep up. You're learning every day while trying to pick up knowledge that maybe existing CEOs or people that have built a business before have already picked up. So you're learning tech, you're learning business, and you're learning human management, and all those things combined, as well as the reality that government regulators are not super friendly in Africa, and you're trying to build in that environment. And so, yes, it's definitely challenging, but also, I mean, it means you're just among the first to get there, and it gives you a better chance if this technology succeeds. There's no guarantee that it will be the be-all, whether Bitcoin will grow to be the big trillion-dollar project that we all think it will be, and all these other projects, whether Celo meet the objectives and their goals. And so you're riding on top of that wave. And, like any good surfer, if you don't stay, well positioned, you're probably going to get thrown off. And so you have to stay well positioned. Yeah. You have to stay focused on your customers and try and build something that they love. And that's the way to try and survive.
Roselyne?
All right, I'll mention just two things. The first is that you're building trust as a startup. You might be new, you might have the best product, you might have the best team, you might have even the best regulation at hand, but you are new. People don't know you. And there's a lot of pressure, especially in startups, just to get their names out there. And, one of the first challenges that will hit you is you are trying to get visible and get trusted and get attention in a context where there's a lot of online noise. And this online noise kind of determines just how well or to what extent you can get your paying customer. Because for so many startups, yes, you have the dream, you have the vision, you have your product, and you're thinking, yes, we have this figured out, it's on your side. Then the market smiles at you like, I knew one. I think there's this circulating meme of a guy who's boxing, and it shows all the rounds that a startup will kind of go through, and shows that he's gone through the pitch deck, the business plan, is just getting and warming up, throwing the first punch. He has the traction right, product market fit. Then the market just stares, like it stands about like adjacently, and with the first punch, the startup is down. And we say that there's all these statistics around 90% or more than 90% of startups failing. I think we just need to be able to check the narrative and be very brutally honest and say that the first year or the first 2-3 years of a startup shouldn't even be so heavy in terms of spending, because you're looking at getting the right capital, getting just your foundation right. But the truth is that these are very intense years of learning and formation plus building trust. Because if for instance people look at you and they're like, okay, you're new, you're exciting, maybe I'll pay some attention, but I'll definitely not put my money into it. And we've seen with any established business that's out there, they didn't make any serious revenue in their first 3 years. And we can't call that failure. It's a learning curve. That's just foundation. And even when you look at, a major construction project, the first most intense time. It's just the foundation, because once that's right, then it can be built up. So with, even for us as a startup, just building the trust for us with our market. That's one thing that's very critical to us, because we don't just want to say, hey guys, we're here to financially connect Africa. Then the next day, you don't know what we're about, or, you just find something that you're like, what are you guys all about? So building trust is extremely critical to us. And what's the thing that comes with that is just understanding people at the end of the day, because you can have all your expertise as, especially a tech startup, you can have all the support even from investors, but if you don't understand the people that you are serving at the end of the day, you don't have a relationship with them, then it's going to remain that it's going to just remain a very niche thing. But at the end of the day, every startup needs to be able to build the right relationships with patients to get its sustainable niche in a market.
Thank you so much, guys. Maybe because we are talking about startups, I would love people to know what you guys are doing. Like what is Base? For some that don't know, because I keep on mentioning Base. What is it about? What is it doing for all in the African market and all that?
Well, Base is actually sort of looking at the old problem of sending money and potentially down the line holding wealth. We've seen the headlines that sending money is expensive. Between African countries, it can be as much as 15 or 20%. And then the reality that we have over 54 different countries in Africa, and each of them has a currency. And so if we're talking about a united African future, how are we going to sort of transmit value between these individuals? And so the first step for us is to look at how do we easily send money, especially for a community that I come from, which is the South Sudanese community in East Africa. And so we want to connect them to the rest of East Africa and allow them to easily send money, allow them to easily receive money and potentially hold wealth. And then we want to see how can we scale across Africa and use blockchain as the wave that we're riding to provide solutions that are better than existing solutions, easier, are more convenient and faster and cheaper. And so that's actually what we're doing at the moment.
Roselyne?
Yeah, that's exactly, the mission of connecting Africa. Because it's not repeating that, especially for people who, just travel and do trade across and between different countries. One of your first headaches is actually just after the airport, getting a line. And after getting a line, finding a way to send money. So those are your two most frequent headaches in terms of how do I get this value? And for so many people on the ground, it's that you have to wait for days. And I think, well, of course, in the internet age and seeing the near instant transfer, whether it's messages, communication, status updates, etc., we're looking at this instant age to hit our financial sector, and especially when it comes to trade. And when you consider, platforms and agreements like the Africa Free Trade Agreement and similar ones that will be, set in place, enforced, or implemented in different countries, the next question will be, okay, how do we get both our goods and our money as easily and as seamlessly as possible between countries? We don't want to hear about 4 days to take reconciliations or 4 days for you to get your money and more, and just all these lengthy timelines. And of course, with the costs that come with that. But the first thing would be the timelines. And for us as Base is the fact that you can get your funds instantly. You just need to have the wallet and you have your funds instantly. So for so many people, we do understand that, yes, there are different cultures at play, 54 different cultures. But I think one language that can easily and quickly unite us is trade. We both need the value. So I'm not going to have to, convince you, oh, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things. No, we need to trade. And that's very simple for everyone across the board. So for us, being an enabler, future, both present and future enabler to trade, it's a very big deal for us, because we know we are investing in the future of Africa and young Africans this way, because there aren't enough initiatives in this regard. There aren't enough, instant wallets for you to be able to get your resources this way. And for us being able to make this seamless, both for businesses and for individuals, it's really amazing. So we are honored to be in this space, definitely. And the learning curve, honestly speaking, we really do hope that guys will be awakened to this and definitely be more open to trade and having us as a trade partner in that regard.
Yeah, you guys are doing an amazing job, and I believe as the market grows, so will Base grow. Maybe my follow-up question will be, what strategies do you have in engaging regulators across your target market?
I think with regulation, you cannot really avoid it, and so you have to face it head on. In our case, we decided to go through the process of getting registered in Australia. It's just quicker, it's easier. Some countries in Africa haven't figured out a way to, accommodate people faster, but we're just following the traditional route. We believe that just because the technology is different, it's still the same age-old financial services that we are building, just maybe using a different, platform. I mean, if you look back 100 years, if you had to travel from town to town, you probably use a horse and buggy. And the fact that cars came into being and people are driving them, it doesn't mean that travel has changed. Still the same travel, you're just using different mechanics. And so in that regard, we believe that established rules should still apply. And so we are following them. In some cases, they could be friendlier, but you deal with the world that you have, not the world that you wish was there.
Okay, maybe one last question before maybe we wrap up this thing. I'll ask, what advice would you give to someone or to a group of people who are interested in, being part of this space, maybe as entrepreneurs who want to start up businesses with the world? What kind of advice would you share with those people?
Well, I think that the thing that has helped me, in my life, going from a refugee all the way to an Australian citizen and being back in East Africa, try and contribute to the African continent, is just that ability to learn. If you're interested in this space, you have to learn. If you're interested in science, you have to learn. If you're interested in business, you have to learn. And so you have to find people that push you to learn, and you have to follow people that are always educating you, and you have to sort of spend your time in the company of people that are always challenging you to be better. And so the advice that I'll give is read, learn as much as you can. If you learn through videos, then collect all the videos that you can. If you love books, get all the books that you can. If you can combine all of the above, all the better. And so the world is changing, especially in technology, in the technology space, so fast that only the lifelong learners are benefiting from it. So you cannot really just rest and think that everything's going to come your way. You actually have to put in the effort and you have to keep learning. And look, it's a journey. And so you just have to enjoy the journey rather than try and say, hey, I need to get to a specific destination and stop. Because when you get there, you find that all the friends that will make that journey worthwhile are still moving ahead. They still want to hit the next road, the next town, the next area of learning, the moon, the sun. And so you have to be able to kind of travel with them. And that means you have to keep getting better, And so the best advice I can give, you just have to keep learning. That's the best that I can say.
Roselyne.
Right. For me, it's a matter of being able to sync your personal vision and purpose as a person, because if you don't have any underlying convictions, then it's going to be very hard for you to be part of even just the blockchain and crypto space, because some of the key ideas you will encounter have to do with like decentralization, the future of tech, future of markets. It might sound very futuristic, but you realize that a lot of guys in this space are, or even for entrepreneurs and inventors or guys who are just putting stuff out there for the first time, they are creative, they are daring to be in a space that they haven't been before. And you realize that if you are not, if you're not curious, you're not, you don't have any personal convictions, and it's going to be very hard for you to relate to what guys are trying to do, what guys are trying to build. It's always just going to sound like a distant utopia that's just too futuristic to exist today. But the fact is that some of these things exist right now. So the thing is that what are your personal convictions? Because if you can't settle that within yourself, then it's going to be very hard to be in a space that is evolving as it is, and it's changing so fast that a lot of people keep on wondering, is it even worth it to put the time into that? So the thing is that you don't have to be, you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to have even a very specific career path in your mind, like I am going to be a Bitcoin trader, or I'm going to be, I'm going to take this role or that role. It's good to aspire to that. But if you don't have the previous skill set, then again, as Nhial mentioned, you need to be able to learn. But beyond your learning, what are your convictions? What really gets you out of bed in the morning? What really pushes you when things are contrary? What, what kind of just gets you out of that place where you feel like life is just a whole symphony of chaos. You need to be able to ask yourself those hard questions, so that in the midst of being able to find these answers, then you can appreciate a space that's as nascent, as evolving as, it has all these excitement. But the thing is that you're looking at, how can I generate either sustainable income, or build a new career, or build a name for myself in this space. For me personally, it's that I gravitated, or I was drawn. I was really, really drawn to the crypto space because of some of the key ideas that were there, and especially the people who I met. Some of them have become mentors. Some of them have become role models for me. I definitely salute Nhial, even though he's right here in this call. I mean, you're told to appreciate people, not when they're in absentia. So I appreciate the people who have believed in me, invested in me, given me speaking engagements, referred me to other people, and you need to be able to identify the right people who can work with you in this space, so that it's not just a Wild West kind of thing, so that, you don't want to be the one who's losing at the end of the day. So your vision, your purpose, your convictions, and being able to have the right people to guide you in the space, extremely, extremely important. So don't just ride the hype. Be able to ask yourself, what are the fundamentals that are not going to be swept away in the course of things changing? Don't buy the hype. Just be able to ask yourself, what's going to last after all the hype dies out?
Thank you so much, guys. Maybe one last thing before I say goodbye. You guys have been very wonderful, and lovely discussion. Maybe one last thing that I'm asking from you, your parting words. What can you say to people that are listening today? That have been enjoying our talk. One last thing.
I think so. Last thing to say to anyone that is listening is this space is exciting. I mean, even if you have a full-time job, and you can afford to actually risk a small sum, as well as, or become involved, whether it's time-wise, I think you should be, because often the biggest opportunities are in the growing spaces. There's usually a funny statement that companies, the advice that they give you when you join a big organization is go to the place where the money is being made, because then you'll rise faster and you'll get a better pay increases. But if you're considered a cost center, effectively working in a place where costs have to be cut, it's always going to be a struggle for you to grow. And I think you should also look at your career in that regard. Go to the places that are growing, that a lot of innovation is happening, and often you'll benefit and surprise yourself.
All right, for me, it's that blockchain and crypto are here to stay, but don't treat them as an enemy. Even if you don't understand them. I mean, a lot of people just treat this like it's too much for my mind. It's okay. Don't pressure yourself. I mean, life is, we have so many, we live in a world of options, okay? So don't let anybody make you hate blockchain and crypto. And in the sense that, these are tools for us to use, have your mind on the bigger picture. And what's the bigger picture? The fourth industrial revolution. You might have your thoughts about that, your feelings about that, your fears about that. It's okay to have those thoughts and fears. We hear about automation, wiping out so many jobs. We hear about, the possibility of a universal basic income. There's so many things out there. But the thing is that just find your own peace about crypto and blockchain, because when you have that peace within yourself, then you're able to make better decisions about the options that are in this space. We can have this session and talk about all the amazing things that it has to offer, but at the back of your mind, you're just feeling this is not for me. But the truth is that this is an inevitable future. So don't feel harassed. Don't feel afraid. Don't feel like you're the laggard and you're definitely going to miss this and you're bad for not understanding it, or you're behind things for not wanting it. No, don't bash yourself. please do not bash yourself. Just give yourself time and the peace to learn about what all these new things are. And even if you do not put a cent to a cryptocurrency after this session, at least give yourself a piece of thought about learning something new. You never know how exciting it could be, or how, what would come of that. Maybe you'll be a founder, maybe you'll be an investor, maybe you'll just be a speculator. Hey, it's fine, but just don't shut your mind to the opportunities and the thoughts in this space.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been wonderful having you today. And to all of you who are attending the Next Blockchain Summit, thank you so much for being part of this exciting time. Thank you so much. And I'd love to say to you, like what the panelists have said today, learn, learn, learn. Be part of this exciting, be part of, these changes that are happening today. We cannot avoid them. The Bitcoin is the future, blockchain is the future. So come on all, and let's come and learn. And we hope to meet you again in the next blockchain summit. And we hope next time there will be no corona, and we'll all get to meet and have a chat by the fire and have fun. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Alakan.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.